Yeah, buddy, welcome to it. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by Fanduel. It is the second Crunch Time of the day. If you're hanging out with us on the morning show, like noon Eastern, I believe, we appreciate you watching. We had our guy TJ with us for the morning show. He's back again this afternoon. What up, TJ?
Ready for another mediocre baby 3-game slate and break it down, but I'm excited to hang out with you guys. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little sleepy, but I got a Spidey bomb coming for the people at 50 likes. Hopefully that'll wake me up a little bit.
There we go. But I buried the lead because the big news of today is not the little baby slate. It is not my good friend TJ joining us back to back. It's my guy STL Cards back in action after you just kind of disappear. You hibernate during tax season, and then you gradually come out of hibernation, and you're back.
Yeah, I do. Normally only do the weekends during the busy time, so haven't connected with you, Roth, in quite a while. Done quite a few shows with TJ on the weekends, but yeah, good to be back in the swing of this during the week, though this isn't the most exciting slate to do that with. Maybe we can still make something happen and give out some good picks tonight. But yeah, it's a nice day, beautiful day here in the Midwest. Our son has his 7th grade choir concert this evening after the show, so yeah, going to be a fun night here in the old Van Zuten household.
Very good. Well, we may end up getting out of here even before lock. I don't know. It's only 3 games. We're going to give out all the content, answer all the questions we have, and we'll see what time that takes us up to. Cards, quick question for you. How do you feel about someone who just files an extension every time tax season comes around and is like, I'll deal with it 6 months from now?
I love you.
Yeah,
yes, I mean,
yeah.
because I would rather do them when I'm not busy, and do them, in August, September, whenever, and fully believe that the tax deadline should be extended from its current due date based on the fact that forms come out later, et cetera, et cetera. It just makes everything hard to get done by April 15th to where you're completely miserable. But on the other hand, I don't want to be doing like everybody's taxes in the summer either. So a little bit of give and take either way, but I do not mind the handful of extensions that, I can kind of work on over the summer at my own pace. So yes, I don't mind. I don't mind that.
Okay, I'm glad. I always wondered, like, does the tax guy hate me for this?
Nope, definitely does not.
Very good. All right, good to know. Hey, we're not here to talk taxes. We are not here to talk Guardians of the Galaxy, although TJ would love to. We might be here to do that if we're trying to stretch. We're here to talk some Major League Baseball, ladies and gentlemen. This show is sponsored by FanDuel. Make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you are in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5 little, get $150 back in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply for that. Cards, there is not a whole lot to talk about in the weather department. We had our one kind of weather game. It played, late started, but everything's good. So now I want to talk about the slate in general, Cards.
For the kids.
For the kids, that game played for the kids. It was Kid Day and Science Day, and we knew.
And did you see how that game ended, Raw?
I did not.
The Royals won on a bottom of the 9th walk-off squeeze bunt.
No. For
yes,
the kids?
It was a squeeze bunt for the kids. The White Sox,
bunt.
Of course, the White Sox botched it up. If there's a team that's been as disappointing as producer Steve's Mets and STL Cards, it's been the White Sox because they are awful. And the A's, but like we all knew the A's were going to be bad, but like the White Sox are horrible. The Mets are horrible. My Cardinals have been horrible. But the White Sox, yes, they lost. The Royals with a walk-off bunt for the kids.
Amazing.
So they're even showing the fundamentals off for the little guys.
Squeeze bunt for the kid. That's what you got to do. The kids need to learn the fundamentals. It's not all about the long ball, kids.
I don't know why
but it is in DFS.
Time.
Yeah, it kind of is about the long ball in DFS. So, of course, we're going to get you some home run picks. Make sure you smash that like button for us because when we get, TJ, you said 50 likes.
We're there. We're already there. We got Spidey Bomb #1 for the kids.
Let's do it for the kids.
For the kids, Spidey Bomb #1. We only got 3 games, but we still are able to find some decent odds on a few players. And Spidey Bomb #1 is J.D. Davis for San Fran today, going up against the lefty. He's plus 460 over on FanDuel, our lovely sponsor, and that is Spidey Bomb #1.
Very good.
We got 75. I got Spidey Bomb #2.
I mean, we're not too far away from that. All right, Cards, can you give me a rundown on this little slate? I know it's 3 games. I know it's not great, but can you give me kind of a rundown as to the pitcher pool and what your plans are over there for pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every pitcher is semi-viable except the guy that's pitching for the A's. That's pretty much a theme on a lot of nights because the A's are so bad. But it's only 6 games, and we've got 4 real quality pitchers tonight. Not like top-level elite guys, but you've got Eovaldi pitching, you've got Drew Rasmussen, you've got Domingo Germán, and you've got Alex Cobb. So 4 guys that are, going to hover in the threes generally for their ERAs. Then you've got whatever the A's are throwing out there tonight. That's out of play. And then Tommy Henry, a lefty for the Diamondbacks, who's not very good, is the 6th pitcher that not a whole lot of people are going to consider. So, I mean, you could, if you want to completely punt or you're just trying to be different because there's only 3 games. But really, it's a pool of 4 for most people tonight. And so you look at, okay, we got 4 guys with similar skill sets that are going to be the popular pitchers. And then the offense is going to be the other 2 teams that are facing the not as good pitchers with clear chalk there as well. So it's an interesting night where there's only 3 games. Ownership's going to congregate around very small pools. And so the cash game lineup comes together fairly easily tonight. The tournament, you're going to have to be, a little bit adventurous if you want to do something different. But from a cash game perspective, there's not too much work to be done in trying to make a good lineup come out tonight.
Okay, well, let's do it. Let's dive right into pitchers cards, and I will let you lead the way. First, talk Fanduel, our sponsor site, and then jump over to DK where you need 2 of those pitchers.
Yeah, and that's I think it is a really interesting discussion on FanDuel because there's 4 viable guys, and you only roster one of them. So it makes the ownership in tournaments a little bit more interesting to dissect. But 4 good pitchers, their ERAs, probably all going to land around 3, like I just mentioned. Well, there's a common theme that 3 of them are facing fairly good offenses. Rasmussen has to face the Yankees, who now have Aaron Judge back. They've kind of come out of their funk over the last couple of games. Alex Cobb has to face Arizona, which has become a pesky offensive group this year, though Corbin Carroll's not in the lineup today, so maybe a bump up to him. And then Germán has to face the Rays, who have just been, killing the ball against everybody. Whereas Eovaldi, the 4th guy, is facing Oakland, who's won like 6 games or 7 games or whatever. So the clear chalk is simply going to be Eovaldi because he's facing Oakland. Oakland has the lowest team total. Eovaldi has the highest strikeout prop, and we've got him at 44% on FanDuel. And he's the guy you're probably playing in cash game. You're probably playing him in cash games on both sides. I don't mind the idea on a shorter slate of pivoting to the other 3 guys in GPPs who on FanDuel have ownerships of 16% or less. Mm-hmm. But in cash games on FanDuel, you're just playing Eovaldi and you're moving on. TJ can talk about which of the pivots he likes better in terms of tournament play. But in cash games, it's Eovaldi. On DraftKings, the ownership is even higher. We've got him at 77% on DraftKings right now. But then you got to play a second guy. And so your Rasmussen is 9,200, Cobb is 8,700, and Germán is 8,300. I think for safety, it's Cobb. The bump with Carroll not being in the lineup, he doesn't walk anybody. He gets a ton of ground balls. I don't hate Arizona as like a kind of a YOLO stack tonight if all the BABIP goes their way. But yeah, on FanDuel, it's pretty clearly just Eovaldi in cash games. On DraftKings, it's probably Eovaldi and Cobb for me, though I wouldn't fight anyone for wanting to play Rasmussen or Germán as their SP2 instead.
Okay, very good. TJ, I want to bring you in, talk some tournaments. To me, it seems like you just play 100% Eovaldi and let the 50% of the people who choose otherwise just eat dirt. But maybe that's not the right approach. So what are you doing on FanDuel, and walk me through DK as well?
I'm with you, especially on FanDuel where it's a one-pitcher site. I don't hate the idea of trying that. I like Rasmussen today, but at only $700 cheaper than Eovaldi. I would rather just go find that $700 to get there. If I'm choosing between Germán and Cobb, even though I think the downside is higher for Domingo Germán, I would still go with him as well because I think his upside is higher than Cobb here. Cobb strikes out less than 15% of left-handed bats, and Arizona's only going to have 3 righties in there, and they strike out as a 16% rate as a team, where Tampa Bay at least strikes out at a 22% rate as a team. They got multiple high strikeout guys in the middle of that lineup. And Herman has a near 30% strikeout rate this season. And so I think he could definitely get hit around more because Tampa Bay is a better offense, but Herman has, I think, a lot more strikeout upside. I agree with almost everything Card said, except the one place I disagree is I actually do think you can play Oakland's pitcher tonight. I think you can play Medina against Texas. Texas is my number one stack. They're going to be my highest owned offense, but Medina at 5.5 on Fanduel at just a totally different price than everybody else. And then on DraftKings, he's 5.7 and gives you a very viable, cheap SP2 option when all of these other guys are significantly more expensive. I don't hate the idea of going to Medina in my lineups that don't have Texas. I think that's kind of what I would do is on a 3-game slate where we don't have much, go like 70% Texas stacks and then like 30% Medina and just have him in all the lineups that I don't have Texas, because I've kind of had a rule this season. We'll get to this more on stacks, but I've been fiddling around with it where I just kind of go, I don't care what the ownership is, whether it's none or lots. I'm going to stack against Oakland every single night. And it's been very profitable just because that bullpen is so terrible. So
right.
I do think you can go with Medina in tournaments. I think he's probably like my favorite tournament SP2 option over on DraftKings. And then even on FanDuel, I think you can. So like take that in mind that like he's my favorite tournament SP2 option, but Texas, who he's playing, is also my favorite stack of the day. And so if I'm paying up, it goes Eovaldi 1 by a very wide margin, Rasmussen 2, Herman 3, Cobb 4, and then I like Medina in tournaments as a cheapie. I will not play Tommy Henry.
Okay, very good. I do want to make a couple quick notes here. We had someone ask, Matt Giles says, hey, what's Eovaldi's ownership, fellas? And if we look at the projected ownership here on FanDuel, it appears to be 43% on FanDuel. I feel like I would take the over on that. Cards, you taking the over on 43% owned on FanDuel?
I don't think so. I think that's probably about right.
Very good. I should not question the.
I mean, I don't necessarily. I mean, it could come in 45, or I don't think it's way off because the other pitchers are talented enough. I think if you're looking at like a $1,000 buy-in or something, a smaller field, yeah, he's probably a little bit higher. But in like your $10 or $15 kind of larger field stuff, I think that's pretty close.
Okay,
he's just at a much higher price point than anybody else. Than over on DraftKings, where he's only 9.5, and the difference between him and Herman, who's the cheapest of the bunch, is only $1,200. That's why we're seeing almost 80% for him over there.
Gotcha. All right, and then K-Town's Finest says, with San Francisco being terrible against lefties, is Henry or Henry, let's call him Henry, like the soccer player, a viable option in DK tournaments? And TJ, you said no. He's the one guy that you have none of. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely no interest in this guy. It doesn't really matter about that to me. He doesn't strike anybody else. He doesn't strike anybody out. He gets hit hard by both sides of the plate. He walks too many righties, and that's going to be the majority of what he sees. Fly ball pitcher getting hit hard 40% of the time. We have all these guys like, for example, a JD Davis, who was the Spidey Bomb, where it's like, 34% strikeout rate. I don't care because he's playing Tommy Henry, who this season has struck out 12% of righties. And even if we bump it back to last season as well, the guy's still got an over 6 xFIP, and he's striking out only 16% of right-handed bats. So no, don't care.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about some of the stacks. And TJ, you already kind of told us Texas is your favorite stack because they're going against Funky Cole Medina, but there are probably some other options that you're working in. So what do you think?
Yeah, so Texas is my number one stack, which also leads us to our second Spidey Bomb of the day. If we can bump this up to 100 likes, then I got a third Spidey Bomb for us. But Spidey Bomb number 2 is Marcus Semien. You can get him for over plus 400 odds over at our FanDuel sponsor. I like that one quite a bit because even if he doesn't get to Medina, like we talked about, that bullpen is just horrific. And so Marcus Semien is Spidey Bomb number 2. We got 3 games. There's not a lot to choose from. It goes Texas number 1, it goes San Fran number 2, and then Tampa Bay, New York, and Arizona are kind of the tier 3 for me. Like we saw this morning, even when a team has 2 points higher of a total than anybody else, it's baseball. Anything can happen. The Mets got shut out, even though they were the chalk. especially on a 3-game slate. You can really play any of these offenses. If you want to stack Oakland against Uvalde, it's so far from optimal, but who cares? It's a 3-game slate. Nobody's going to be doing it. It's fine. And so to me, it's Texas 1, San Fran 2, Arizona, Tampa Bay, and New York in a bucket of 3, and then Oakland 4. But you can truly play any of these teams.
Cards, your thoughts stacky wise?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that, and also agree that you can stack Oakland tonight if you want. Like, Oakland is really bad, but most of their really bad has been because the pitching and the bullpen have been just horrendous, and the offense has proven to be competent at times. I know that's not the highest compliment, but Evaldi throws a lot of strikes. Sometimes the ball and play gods can play tricks with you, and you get lucky on a given night. Maybe you hit a couple homers, and on a 3-game slate, it certainly can be viable. So I second the thought on anytime a pitcher is like 75% owned on DK and almost maybe 50% owned on FanDuel on a 3-game slate. Yeah, you can stack against him in some lineups if you want. But otherwise, Texas and San Francisco are clearly the top, going to grade out as the top offenses because they have the highest run totals.
Yeah, I guess, is it fair to say this isn't a slate where you need your stack to score like 12 runs and hit 7 homers? Like, you can just kind of get
Well, it
there,
depends.
like...
If there's a team that scores 12 runs and hits 7 homers, yeah, you probably need it.
You need that, yeah. But like you said with Oakland, like, maybe you don't have the most talented bats there, but maybe you can just piece it together on a smaller slate to get there. Interesting. Not something I considered. Okay, let's go position by position. Let's get some winners out to the folks. And Cards, you get to lead us off with a little catcher talk.
Oh, joy. The most exciting thing about catcher is that I saw a picture from earlier because Texas was playing playing the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim earlier this year. And on the video board, they put Jonah Heim has a daughter, but missed an opportunity because he did not name her Anna, which would have made her Anaheim, which I thought was pretty clever.
That is funny. Yeah, it's good.
The Angels marketer person or whoever does the scoreboard things. I thought that's pretty clever. Anyway, Jonah Heim is probably your top catcher tonight because he's the catcher that's facing Oakland. But he's also, you definitely don't have to play a catcher on FanDuel tonight. That we can be clear on. Yeah. On DraftKings, Heim is the top option. He's also $4,200. If you decide that you don't want to spend up at catcher, that's fine. Don't spend up at catcher. You can always play somebody in your stacks. Before we came on the air, the San Francisco lineup was the only one that wasn't out. Like, if Joey Bart is in there at catcher, he might strike out 4 times, but he also might get a hold of one, and he's 2.6K on DraftKings. So I'm fine punting with him if it makes the rest of your lineup work. Like, none of these catchers we have projected for more than like 7 points tonight. So Heim is the number 1 guy, but I don't necessarily think you need to spend on him. You can punt if you want.
Okay, great. TJ, I assume you're just going to nod in agreement because there's not a whole lot to break down there.
Yes and no. 13 more likes for Spidey Bum number 3, but I honestly kind of think you do need to pay up for Heim just because salary is not really an issue on this slate, especially on DraftKings where no pitcher is priced up above 10K. Like, we got Judge over 6, we got Arozarena at almost 6, and very few players are on this slate are more than like 5'5", 5'6", and so it's going to be pretty easy to fit guys in. And so Heim would definitely be somebody I want to pay up for. But if I'm not, Bart going down low would be my second option. And then number 3 would be Langolier going up against Evaldi.
Great. Okay. How about first base, TJ?
First base today. So, like, this one I almost have less opinion of than catcher, actually, because it's just not that strong of a position today. I think the best in the chalk will be Wilmer Flores, but you can also play him at third base. And so not sure how many people are actually going to be going to him here, but it's really not as strong of a position as you'd normally have it. We have Diaz and Rizzo up top. If you're choosing between the two of them, I like Rizzo better than Diaz today. But for me, it's either Flores, and if you're not playing Flores here, it's Nathaniel Lowe for Texas. I just kind of always revert back to, well, I'm probably going to play a Texas player. I don't mind me some Christian Walker as well, but he falls quite a bit below Nathaniel Love for me.
Very good. Cards.
Actually, sorry, one more. And Pavan Smith as well, I think, is a phenomenal tournament play.
Okay. Cards, your thoughts at first?
Yeah, Smith is hitting third tonight with their lineup being looking a little different this evening. So I second that call. I think he's definitely viable. He's even viable in cash if you want to play him tonight. But Wilmer Flores should be hitting near the top of the lineup. He's 2,800 on DK. Otherwise, I do kind of like spending up for Walker or Lowe here, just because, as TJ mentioned, salary really isn't a thing. And some of those other guys, like if you want to play Pavan Smith, he can play outfield. Flores can play first and third. So, yeah, Walker and Lowe, I agree, are the top options there at first tonight if you're spending up.
Okay, take me to second base, Cards.
Yeah, feels like a priority spot for Semien for me. Obviously, I think TJ agrees on that, given that he was one of the Spidey bombs. If you look where, DraftKings scoring is a little bit less than FanDuel in terms of how you accumulate fantasy points. So he's got 6 double-digit games on DraftKings out of his last 8, and they've all been over 15 in FanDuel scoring. So consistency is obviously there. He's leading off for a road team facing a bad pitching staff. Like, he might hit 6 times tonight. If you're spending up, I think Semien is clearly the play over guys like Ketel Marte and Brandon Lau, Tyro Estrada. Especially if we're talking cash games, but even tournaments, I just think the spend up play here is Semien, period, for me. I don't love a lot of the cheap options here. I know David VR is going to get some attention, but like the Giants are never super exciting to roster against lefties because there's like later game pinch hit risk with a lot of those guys. So it's a lot of Semien at second for me tonight.
TJ, your thoughts at second?
A lot of Semien for me at second today as well. I think Brandon Lau is likely either going to strike out 4 times or hit a home run. Like, if he makes contact against Herman, it's probably going to be going out of the park. Tyro Estrada is probably number 2 for me behind Semien, with Lau at 3, but I don't mind Marte either. And then, kind of my favorite thing to do for tournaments is probably to go cheap here with David VR.
Great. Okay, how about third base, TJ?
Flores, who we talked about, you can play here. David VR, who we just mentioned at second, you can play here as well. JD Davis, a Spidey bomb, is third base eligible, and I think exclusively third base eligible on both sites. I know he is on FanDuel. On DraftKings, yes, he's exclusively third base as well. So I think that'll limit his ownership a little bit. And he probably is my favorite here for tournaments of the group. I really like Josh Jung as well, and I'm probably not going to play anybody who's not a Giant or a Tex or a Ranger at this spot.
Cards, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, agree on the plays. The only other guy I'd throw in there is Josh Rojas, who's leading off for Arizona. More of a FanDuel play. He's only 2,600 there.
And the lineup just came out. VR is not in the lineup, so you don't play him.
Interesting for the Giants tonight. So you just never know what they're going to throw out there. I feel like they draw straws to pick their lineup every night. But yeah, Rojas leading off is 2,600 on FanDuel. He's almost 5K on DraftKings, so pretty big price difference. I do like him on Arizona on FanDuel if you want. And I have not. There it is. So Estrada, Flores, Haniger, Davis, Conforto, interesting in there, batting 5th against a lefty. Schmidt, Bart, Wade, and Johnson. That's an interesting lineup for San Francisco. Off the top of my head, that's maybe 3 guys we didn't have projected. So just make sure. Bart is hitting 7th. I think that will bump up his ownership a little bit. But that's kind of a wild lineup for the Giants. I don't really know what to make of that just yet.
Anything stand out to you as like, oh, this guy's in a good spot now that we didn't expect, and maybe.
Do you want to hear something crazy, Roth? Because
yeah, I do.
If we can get to 100 likes, which is only 9 away, I'm going to give them 3 more Spidey bombs.
You're 3 more Spidey bombs. That's a total of 5 Spidey bombs.
Yeah, feeling crazy.
It's like half the batters tonight.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But they're all going to hit home runs, so it's crazy.
Okay. Cards, anything when you look at that lineup that you want to add or throw in that you think is going to be a little tasty that could come in lower owned?
No, I mean, I like them a little less now, to be honest, because there's always that pinch hit risk late in the game if a righty comes in, especially with like, I don't know what they've done with the bottom of this lineup. I guess Conforto's probably not going to get pinch hit for if he's starting against a lefty, but I don't want to play Conforto against a lefty anyways. Like the top 4 are fine: Estrada, Flores, Haniger, Davis, but they're going to be somewhat chalky. I don't know. Based on this lineup, my interest in the Giants, particularly in tournaments, is probably a little bit less on the whole than it was 5 minutes ago.
Okay, interesting. TJ?
We have done it, and I'll carry us right into shortstop as well, because one of these 3 Spidey bombs is third base eligible on DraftKings, shortstop eligible on Fanduel, below 3K on both, very cheap, and he is in a great batting position here for better than expected for him today. And so Casey Schmidt for San Francisco is plus 750. Young prospect for them. He homered in his very first game of the season. He's plus 750 on FanDuel. Casey Schmidt is Spidey Bum number 3. Spidey Bum number 4 is Jonah Heim. We're sticking with those top 2 offenses for the first 4. Heim is plus 470 to hit a home run. He's over at catcher, and I think you can play him on FanDuel as well. And then finally, our 5th and final Spidey Bomb is going up against the top pitcher on the slate, Eovaldi, but we're going with JJ Bleday, who is plus 630 on FanDuel. We got some good odds today, and I am just impressed with the people's ability to hit the like button here on a small little 3-game slate, tuning in, hanging out with us. So why not? 5 Spidey Bombs.
Ooh.
Bet each of them individually to hit a home run. Bet each of them in 2 and 3 parlays to hit the home run, which is a bit more like we do the little round robin, and then something small dollar. You might as well put all 5 of them in there, and you can have a chance to hit big.
Hey, I like it. Also, shout out to producer Steve, who, like, as soon as you said the names of the Spidey Bombs, they were in there on the graphic. I don't even know how he did that so fast. He is a magician. So good job, producer Steve, on it, as always. Okay. Any other thoughts at shortstop, TJ? Because we are actually, I think, maybe coming up on lock here.
So shortstop today, I do really like, oh my goodness. I forgot one of the reasons I wanted to do 3 was I wanted to add Wander Franco to the Spidey Bomb list because he's plus 30. He's plus 630 on FanDuel. It's just crazy. The odds are way too good. Wander Franco is going to be hitting a home run today too. This is a guy that very rarely strikes out, and that's the thing that Herman has going to him against lefties. When he gets hit hard and in the air. So Wander Franco is a guy I really like at the shortstop position. 6 Spidey Bombs, that's got to be a record. And so I'm either paying up for him or I'm paying down to Casey Schmidt.
Okay, very good. Cards, your thoughts at short?
I really don't have any additional thoughts. Franco clearly the top play. Anthony Volpe is cheap and could maybe be thrown into that mix as well. There was some chatter about him potentially getting sent down. And then he hit a grand slam yesterday, so maybe that'll get him rolling. Again, he's a little bit better on FanDuel in terms of price than DraftKings, but you don't necessarily need the salary relief tonight. So another guy that you could maybe throw into the GPP mix as well.
All right, take me to the outfield, Cards.
Yeah, it was salary being not a huge consideration. You're probably going to be able to spend up for a couple guys tonight. So even though they're facing good pitchers, like you can always play Rosarena, you can always play Judge. The top spend for most people is probably going to be Adolis Garcia because he's hitting cleanup for Texas and they're playing Oakland. You know the drill. So Garcia's the priority spend for most. I do like the other 2, Judge or Rosarena in GPPs. Even though I don't love the Giants now, Haniger is still probably their bat that I like the best in terms of a mid-range outfield play. Don't have a whole lot of other strong takes on some other guys. Asturio Ruiz would be my favorite tournament bat for Oakland, leading off, and a guy with some speed that could give some GPP upside if you're not on Eovaldi in some GPP lineups. But the locks for me would be Garcia and Haniger, and then you can mix and match your third from there.
Okay, great. TJ, outfield?
Haniger in the lower to mid tier, Adolis Garcia in the to spend up are probably my two favorites here. On Fanduel, where Garcia is so close to Judge, if you want to prioritize Judge over him, I totally understand that. But Haniger and Garcia would be my two main guys here. Pavin Smith, who we talked about at first base, is eligible here. JJ Bleday, who's a Spidey bomb, another cheap play that I like quite a bit here. In terms of a contrarian tournament thing to do, I do like going with some of these Tampa Bay outfielders at this spot. Josh Lowe, Luke Raley, even pairing them with Randy Arozarena. I don't mind that for tournaments one bit.
Okay, great. Guys, we are about 3-4 minutes to lock, which makes me think we're actually going to make it to lock, which is amazing on a 3-game slate. Good work. Let's dive into the QQs as I pull up the RotoGrinders Discord where all the cool kids are hanging out. I notice there are no QQs. We have 0 questions there in the RotoGrinders Discord. Let's see if we've got anything here in the old YouTube chat. The back end of the Tampa Bay Rays wins the slate. What do you think, Cards? Is that?
I mean, anything's possible tonight. I don't know if it's Manuel Margot and Josh Lowe and Mejia. If they're talking the bottom of the lineup, I am not on that bandwagon. But nothing's crazy tonight. I would stack Oakland before I stack. I would stack the middle of the order Oakland batters before I stack the bottom of the Tampa.
Okay. Well, K-Town's Finest agrees with you. He says, thanks for the knowledge. Oakland is winning the slate tonight, while Stack says Texas is going off tonight. And we like Texas, right? Don't we like Texas? Did I make that up?
Yeah, everyone likes Texas.
Yeah, everybody likes
Everything's
Texas.
better in Texas, is what they say.
You're not wrong about that. SP2 and DK Cash. Cards, who's your SP2 in a little DK Cash action?
Yeah, I think it's probably Cobb, though I don't necessarily disagree with TJ's analysis that I would probably go with like a Herman in tournaments. I don't love Cobb as much in GPPs, but in cash games, I think he's safe enough to be the guy.
Okay, as the 6 Spidey bombs are scrolling on the bottom of your screen, you're probably thinking, man, we should give more thumbs up, more likes to this fantastic trio here. So please do that. In the meantime, Jared says Estrada or Franco in cash. TJ, I'm going to give that one to you. Estrada or Franco in cash?
That's Franco for me.
Very good. Hoosier saying Bandit says Roth. Am I going to be able to mow my route in Indy tomorrow, or will I get rained out? I don't just have the weather for Indy off the top of my head. I don't know. I'll see if I can get another question and look for you in the meantime. I got nothing. So look at this. Now I'm just forecasting people's mowing routes here. Indianapolis.
Oh, a mowing route? Forgive me for being ignorant here. What is this?
I'm assuming maybe he
he lives in Indy and he mows yards for a living, or
maybe, yeah. And he does a lot of mowing.
Is this slang for something that I'm not understanding because I'm not a cool kid?
No, maybe he's got like a lot of property in Indy and he's mowing his own lawn, but he's got a whole route he's got to do because he's got so much.
I don't know. I've never heard of a mowing route like in a different. He must live in
8 yards. He's got 8 yards to mow. So it's like, if you got a paper route, it's the same deal. Only you're mowing all of them. Yeah. All right. Hey, guess what? We have essentially caught up to lock. We've answered all the questions and we have figured out what a mowing route is. So with that, I think it's time to bounce on out of here. Excellent show, gentlemen. As always, excellent working with you. So for Cards, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.